Hello and welcome to the AUA TEFL Alumni series, an interview series where we feature our graduates from the Teaching English as a Foreign Language program at the American University of Armenia. My name is Irshad Madyarov. I am the faculty member and the chair in the TEFL program, and today I'm delighted to be joined by one of our graduates from the class of 2022, Meghry Bedirian. Welcome, Meghry.
Hello, Dr. Madyarov. Thank you for having me today.
So, your previous background and professional experience is different from teaching English, and you had your own journey towards the teaching career. Could you tell us about this journey?
It was different. So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I graduated from Damascus University, and I started my career working in the humanitarian field. I worked with many organizations, and I was working as a psychosocial support specialist with internally displaced people and people who were affected by the Syrian war. And while I was working in that field, I always had the passion in teaching, and I wanted to teach young learners. And I started teaching when I was in Damascus, and I discovered that I loved that area. And after a while, because things got a little bit more complicated in Damascus, I decided to move to Armenia. And it was difficult at the beginning a little bit, but then I started working, and I got accepted at AUA in the MATEFL program, and it was great. And I started working after my graduation in a preschool here in Armenia.
Interesting journey. In fact, just recently you came back from a conference in Kurdistan. It's a region in Iraq. Where you had a session, you talked at the conference, you were invited, in fact, for a conference to talk on a specific topic. What was the topic about?
So I conducted a workshop about managing autism in a classroom setting. I talked about the characteristics of autism, how to deal with challenging behaviors, in an inclusive classroom, and I used methods and interventions that are based on applied behavior analysis, which is a behavioral intervention that is used with autistic children.
I think it's a wonderful compliment to have a psychological background for somebody in the teaching career and teaching job, to be able to create inclusive environments, especially with children that have certain learning difficulties, and thank you for bringing this expertise to our field. So what are your professional plans, aspirations for the near future?
For now, I work as a preschool teacher, and I love what I'm doing. And later on, I would love to be a specialist in the field of early childhood education. I'm also interested in behavioral psychology, so I'm always attending training programs related to behavioral psychology, and I would love to advance my knowledge in that area and maybe work in inclusive classrooms.
Your thesis topic in the MATEFL program here at AUA was about teacher burnout. What exactly is teacher burnout, and do we all have it?
The term burnout or professional burnout was defined by many researchers. But one of the pioneers in research about this concept of job burnout is a psychologist called Christina Maslach, who is also the creator of the Maslach Burnout Inventory that I used in my thesis. So she says that burnout is a prolonged response to chronic stressors, to emotional and interpersonal stressors in the workplace. The World Health Organization gives a very similar definition. They say that burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic stress that has not been successfully managed in the workplace. So, in simpler words, burnout is stress that is related to work.
And so, do we then all have it, or seems like we all have stress? We must all have burnout.
Well, not all of us have professional burnout. Some people actually, or some professions are more vulnerable when it comes to developing burnout. Usually professions that require tasks that require the person to spend long hours working and communicating with others, or having a substantial amount of emotional and personal involvement in the task. These kinds of professions are more vulnerable when it comes to developing burnout. For example, healthcare workers, social workers, and of course educators, because they are asked to be productive for long hours every day, and they are in constant contact with students, so they are always exposed. That's why the level of burnout might be higher among teachers compared with other professions.
Do you think it might also be true with people that are engaged in routine, I want to say boring kind of tasks on the job? Might that also cause burnout?
It can be also related to that. However, in general, when someone is in constant exposure to, for example, problems, challenges, daily challenges, or a boring routine work every day, this also can cause high levels of stress and feelings of lower personal accomplishment.
I see. Makes sense. All right, so back to your thesis. Your thesis was about teacher burnout, and I'm curious to know, why did you decide to choose this topic?
Well, there are many reasons actually. Some of the reasons are related to the lack of research in Armenia, and especially about English teachers when it comes to burnout. So when I was writing my thesis, I didn't find any research done in this area in Yerevan about English teachers. And also I wanted to find out more about the perceived causes of burnout, maybe hoping that this might give the opportunity for decision makers to make some changes and to mitigate the effect of stressors. Well, there are also some personal reasons behind choosing this topic. As I said before, I was working in the humanitarian field, and usually the burnout level in these kinds of professions is high. When people are in constant communication with let's say people who have problems, they always hear about others' problems, and they have to deal with them. They have to deal with the secondary trauma that they are suffering from. All these things can increase the likelihood of having burnout. So when I was there in that field, I was always noticing that there some employees were angry, anxious, they were having some fights, sometimes they were not enjoying what they were doing, sometimes they were depressed some other times. So when I went out of there and I looked at it from a different angle, I felt that there was a lot of burnout there, and a lot of employees and workers in that field were suffering. That's why I wanted to investigate this more, and hoping that maybe knowing more about it will prevent it from happening to me.
Fascinating, and obviously the story is sad. I mean, being in a war zone, and being in working in a humanitarian organization and as a psychologist in a war zone, obviously I can totally relate to that. Not that I have had the experience, but thankfully. So now, could you tell us briefly what your thesis here was about? Because now we're shifting gears into teaching English. So what was your thesis about, and how did you go about doing it? and what you found essentially as well.
So my thesis is a mixed method study that used the design of sequential explanatory design, and it is about finding out more whether the teachers, the English teachers in Yerevan, are suffering from burnout or not, or what are the perceived causes of burnout according to them. And it was also a correlational study, so I wanted to find out if there are relationships between some socio-demographic factors and work-related aspects and the level of burnout. So my participants were 63 teachers, English teachers from private and public schools in Yerevan. And I started with the quantitative part. I had a questionnaire and the Maslach burnout inventory, which is a measuring tool for burnout. And I had an item also related to finding out more about the perceived causes of burnout.
I should have maybe mentioned that from the beginning your advisor was Dr. Yerevan on this thesis, and I'm curious, so what did you find in just briefly, high-level summary of the findings? Are our English teachers burned out in Armenia?
Well, according to the Maslach burnout inventory, there are 3 subdimensions for burnout, which are the emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and personal accomplishment. So apparently, according to my study, 25% of teachers in Yerevan, English teachers in Yerevan, have high levels of emotional exhaustion, and 25% have moderate levels of emotional exhaustion. However, the other 2 subdimensions, which are the personalization and personal accomplishment, were not that prevalent. So when it comes to personal accomplishment, actually, it turned out that teachers in Yerevan, English teachers, have a very high level of, high sense of personal accomplishment, because the percentage was 90%. So 90% had high levels of personal accomplishment.
That's probably a good thing, no?
Yeah, of course, it is.
So now you're saying that 25% of the teachers, English teachers, had a very high level of stress, emotional exhaustion. Does it mean they were burned out?
Well, only having emotional exhaustion is not enough to say that they have burnout, because they also have to have, let's say, symptoms related to depersonalization and also a low level of personal accomplishment. However, having this percentage is an indicator that there is a number of people who have burnout.
So I'm going to now read a little line from your abstract, from your thesis, where you write, the study found that the main factors that relate to burnout and its subdimensions are, and you list some of them, and here they are: prior teaching experience, attending training programs, and relationships with colleagues on the job. The first one, I think, is more or less self-explanatory, understandable, but I'm curious about the first 2. Could you elaborate on them?
Well, according to the study, I found out that there is a negative correlation between the amount of teaching experience, previous teaching experience, and the level of emotional exhaustion, which means that the more experience you have, the lower emotional exhaustion you will be having. So
I would think it would be the other way around. Apparently not. Because the longer you work, the longer you get kind of worn out,
well,
jaded.
apparently the experience builds skills, and when the teacher has these materials, lesson plans, maybe the more skills in writing students' reports and all these things, in class management, for example, dealing with challenging behaviors, all of that can be also related to emotional exhaustion.
No, that's interesting. Possibly. I thought it would be the other way around, but I mean, the reasons that you mentioned make sense. And then how about attending training programs?
Well, it turned out that teachers who were attending training programs other than the training programs that were provided by the Ministry of Education, they had a higher level of personal accomplishment.
Okay, so it helps.
Of course, yeah. Apparently, according to the study, it helps. It gives the teachers a sense of personal accomplishment, self-esteem, confidence that they are doing something.
All right. So relationship with colleagues is understandable. Now I'm curious as to the extent this was a factor in your sample. I mean, how much was that an issue, a cause, a percentage factor, perhaps, in emotional exhaustion?
Well, actually, teachers expressed that having unsupportive colleagues or a bad relationship with colleagues can be a cause for burnout for them. A couple of also during the interviews, also some teachers mentioned that, because my study also had a qualitative stage where I was trying to explain all the findings of the quantitative stage. The items that I had related to the perceived causes of burnout. During the interviews, I wanted to investigate more about them because in the questionnaire I had at the end the perceived causes of burnout, which included many factors such as having unsupportive administration, having low income, for example, having problems with the lack of rewards and emotional recognition, and also the amount of workload, having to deal with crowded classrooms, having to deal with challenging student behaviors. All of these things were mentioned in the last item when I was trying to find out more about the perceived causes of burnout. And it turned out that 63% of teachers said that having low income had a high level of, or contributed to their burnout level.
Okay. That was my next question, actually. So the highest factor is the salary, low salary.
Also, there were other factors that were really close in the percentage. For example, emotional or moral reward also was pretty high. Actually, it was very close. Apparently, only having a good income is not enough. Teachers were looking for being reminded that their work is valuable, and they were looking for that. So it was also increasing the likelihood of having burnout. Other factors that were also very prevalent were having, for example, high levels of workload and being expected to work extra after working hours. Many teachers actually mentioned that during the interviews. They said that in some schools they expect teachers to be working extra. All the meetings that are with parents or meetings with the teachers or colleagues, they are always after working hours. Some of them also expressed that they had to write reports, lesson plans, all these things outside of their working hours. So they were spending a lot of time working from home, and that was just very stressful for them.
So what would you recommend for the teachers that are listening to us, that are watching us right now, to protect themselves from emotional exhaustion and eventually from burnout?
Well, knowing more about burnout is very important, because the first step, in my opinion, to find out or to find a solution to a stress or a problem that you are dealing with is to educate yourself and to find out more and to read about burnout, because reading about it will lead you to the second step, which is self-awareness. Being aware that, for example, these symptoms are happening with me, and how to deal with these symptoms, burnout-related symptoms. This is only the first step. Actually, there are some things that are not related to teachers. There are some things that are not in the circle of control, let's say. I cannot say that teachers can be in charge of everything to have less burnout. I think that some aspects are not related to their personality traits. Some aspects are related to work. So in case these factors are not present, there are some things that can be done on a personal level. For example, they can take care more about themselves, making sure that they should not be taking their work home, prioritizing health, psychological well-being, doing self-care activities, and also developing their knowledge to be able to feel more confident whenever they have a situation where they feel that they are under stress. It's great if they have the ability to take the decision of protecting themselves and maybe walk away in case the environment is very stressful. Also, developing their skills when it comes to communication. This is also very important because being, let's say, sometimes people pleaser or not being able to say no, all these things can contribute to burnout. So developing the skill of being assertive and being able to step up sometimes for yourself and being able to express what you are feeling in a logical way. Constructive way, yeah. Not being afraid of saying no to some tasks. And to communicate with the managers or supervisors or colleagues in case there are some problems.
You mentioned self-care activities, and I was curious, is that something related to maybe health, things like sleep and nutrition and fresh air and sports, or is something else?
Well, self-care can be different for every person. Well, every person finds their comfort doing a different activity. So sometimes it's family time, sometimes it's going out, sometimes it's fresh air, sometimes it's breathing activities, sometimes it's even going to a concert, maybe. All these things. The important thing is that there should be a place for these types of activities. Every day at least. They should, the person or the worker should be spending at least 1 hour doing what they love, away from their work, away from thinking about the work, because being overly committed also to work tasks, let's say, also is one of the factors that might contribute to burnout. So like being committed is okay. Being overly committed it can be a problem. So at the end, working on also psychological resilience. In case, for example, there are some cognitive distortions that might be affecting the person from feeling more confident, from feeling more comfortable in the workplace. If the factors that are causing burnout are related to personality traits, then there are some things that can be done to make things better.
So, thank you, Meghry. Very interesting talk. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience, recommendations with our teachers, with our audience. And we wish you all the best in your professional career.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madiar, for having me today and for giving me the opportunity to talk about my thesis. I would just love to say thank you to my advisor, Dr. Irena Gadikian, who also supported me and encouraged me while I was writing the thesis.
This ends another talk in the series of AUA TEFL Alumni, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.